Carrie, Nigan, great to have you with us as always. Nigan, let's start with you. Big expectations here for Wab Kinew and this new government. Some saying the honeymoon's already over. It's only been a day, but what happens now?
Well, I don't know if the honeymoon's quite over yet, but I've been getting tweets all day about how people are really proud of Manitoba, the most diverse cabinet in Canadian history. But now the work really does begin, and it's healthcare. And everyone's going to talk about healthcare, and that's important. It's certainly the issue that Deputy Premier Asaguera will be taking care of. But, you know, the untold story of the cabinet is the fact that Wab Kinew appointed himself as Minister of Indigenous Reconciliation. And the fact is that they're going to have to pay for these changes in healthcare. They do have a $200 million surplus. And so they're going to have some money to start out the changes, but they're going to need, you know, upwards of $1 billion to be able to deal with the issue of healthcare. And that means that Premier Kinew is going to be investing himself within lithium, for example, or moving in the areas of trying to deal with the issue of Manitoba Hydro and making Manitoba Hydro cost efficient. And so what does that mean? That means that there's a reason that he appointed himself as Minister of Indigenous Reconciliation, is that he's interested in lands and resources. And so that's going to be a very tricky thing, I think, for Wab Kinew to navigate.
Indeed. Carrie, a province over there, what were people saying about all this in the election and yesterday?
Everybody is so hyped. They're so proud to see an Indigenous person up there wear his headdress, address in the Indigenous languages from the province. In general, though, although people are very proud of what happened in Manitoba, in Saskatchewan, it's very different. We don't have a Wab Kinew here. We don't have people in the position where we could be electing an Indigenous premier. We don't have nearly enough MLAs who are Indigenous to even think of accomplishing what Manitoba has. And I was really interested in watching the reaction from the politicians here after Wab's win. And there was really a lack of interaction, a lack of support that I seen from all parties, the NDP, the Sask Party. The leadership did send out a tweet, but it was basically silence. The only people that were celebrating were First Nations and Métis people.
Nigan, they're the First Nations. Women have been appointed to cabinet as well here. A number of First Nations and Métis will be in this cabinet. What are the expectations, do you think, on them as well?
Well, we could talk about all the different appointees to cabinet, and I think we should, and I think in the coming days we absolutely should. But we have to really focus now on Minister Smith, Bernadette Smith. She's got a very tricky portfolio because it's an invented portfolio. It's a new portfolio. It's to deal with addictions, housing, and the issue of mental health and the issues of homelessness. I mean, they want to address the issue of ending chronic homelessness. The NDP have invested themselves, put all the chips in the middle. This was one of the linchpins of what Premier Kinew said. And so is Minister Smith ready? She's done certainly a lot of grassroots work. She's famously been involved with heading up Drag the Red here in Winnipeg. And of course, she has a long history of the issue of murder missing Indigenous women and girls, having a family member that's been impacted by that. But is Minister Smith got a plan to be able to deal with what is a gargantuan of an issue, almost bigger than healthcare in lots of different ways, is the issue of homelessness? I mean, trying to get all the different bodies for the first time in history under one ministry, trying to get all of the different social agencies, for example, in downtown, many of whom are Christian, many of whom have different political stripes, people who have operated in silos for a long period of time. How do you get them together into a room? And I think that's the challenge for the new minister.
Lots of challenges for the Kinew NDP government here. Carrie, what do you see as some measures that could be taken to improve the lives of Indigenous peoples, especially children and youth?
The first step is listening, treating Indigenous people like human beings. I think that's the bottom line here. All too often we hear groups coming forward and having to protest just to get their voice heard because no one is listening. And I think that in order for this change to happen, to have maybe this era of reconciliation actually happen, we need to have Indigenous voices, the Métis voices, the First Nations voices at the table and actually be heard, not just as, you know, a token, you know, like, oh, we have somebody here from this group. No, but actually listening to people who are on the grounds, the grassroots, the people that know the issues, maybe giving them an opportunity to speak and come up with some solutions that maybe all these educated people in their reports really can't seem to grasp. You know, they're working directly with people who are impacted by addictions, by houselessness, and all those issues. And maybe those are the people that can have ideas that maybe would help. And I think just treating Indigenous people, like human beings with a voice, I think that would pave the way for this idea of reconciliation.
Carrie and Egon, we'll have to leave it there. Appreciate you both being here.
Yeah, thanks.